Okay, we'll start with this. Set to go down tomorrow night in the Dominican Republic. Unbeaten up-and-comer in the featherweight division, Sarah Liegmann of Germany will be returning to action opposite the ring seasoned veteran Garcia Mateo in a featherweight contest scheduled for 10 rounds. Sarah Liegmann, a fighter that we've covered on a good number of occasions here on the channel in previous years, though not so much recently, has been quietly building her record in the background, sporting a professional record of 13 wins with no losses and no draws, 3 recorded knockouts, fighting out of the southpaw stance, 24 years old, seemingly expanding her horizons, fighting abroad in the Dominican Republic against a Dominican fighter, so she needs to be on her P's and Q's. Haven't had much reason to talk about her in recent years, but that doesn't mean that she hasn't been fighting. This fight that she's about to have with Garcia is said to be for a WBA gold title at 126, meaning things are getting a little bit more serious for Sarah now that she's fighting for secondary titles, trinkets. Her opponent, Garcia, sports a professional record of 20 wins with 32 losses and 4 draws, 10 recorded knockouts, having been knocked out 12 times in 56 professional bouts, last in action earlier this year in February when she beat a then unbeaten Brooklyn Borwick. Best described as a gatekeeper, not necessarily a cream puff. This is the kind of opponent you've got to work for it. You've got to beat them, and a lot of fighters have. 2 of the reigning champions at this weight, Nina Menka and Tiara Brown, both have run-ins with Garcia, along with many other fighters like Diana Vargas, Carla Jamie, many other fighters over the years. And now she's fighting unbeaten Sarah Liegmann, who was last in action in February of this year opposite the ring Basilia Mancia, who she decisioned over 8 rounds. Before that, she fought 2 times in the previous year. So, as stated, she has been quietly building her record in the background. Not in high-profile fights, obviously. She has been fighting and she has been winning, so that means she has been learning, having fought in March of last year, then April, then February of this one, and now April of this one. Credit to her training team and whoever handles her career, because she's not with a major promotional outfit, but she's managed to wrangle a steady schedule of fights. Being 24 years old in today's featherweight division when Amanda's in her mid-30s and Tiara Brown is already in her late 30s would mean that Sarah represents the future of this weight class, because she's only 24 and really still just getting started. One to watch out for, best described as an athletic boxer-puncher who's light on her feet, that fights out of the southpaw stance and seems to have a bit of a mean streak, favors combination, rapid-fire combinations, and action fighting. This would seem to be your run-of-the-mill developmental fight for a developing fighter if it weren't for a WBA gold title. That's what's different about this fight than some of Sarah's previous fights. This is the kind of fight that moves her up the ranks, helps her get in position to eventually fight for a full alphabet title. Currently, the full WBA champion is Amanda Serrano, who anticipates she will not box again beyond this year. She's got a fight coming up on the undercard of Stephanie Hahn versus Holly Holm, then probably one more towards the end of the year to cap off her career. She sails into the sunset. The 2 titles that she currently holds, they go vacant, at which point Sarah can fight for one of them in the coming calendar year. 2026 could be the year that Sarah Borman sees herself become a full-fledged world champion. Now, if she wins this fight tomorrow night in the Dominican Republic, that would leave her plenty of time to schedule another fight over the summer months and yet another fight towards the tail end of the year. It's possible that she could fight 4 times this year. Though not being with a major promotional outfit, it is sometimes difficult to stay on schedule, to stay on course. Usually, when a fighter is just starting out, it's not uncommon that they fight 4, sometimes even 5 times in a single calendar year. Let's hope that beyond tomorrow night's fight, if Sarah wins, she's a little bit more active this year than she was in the previous one. I like Sarah Borman to win a points decision. I don't think she stops Garcia, but I do think she out-hustles her.
The Saudis are 100% fully funding Zuffa. So fighters, beware and make sure you read the fine print.
Dave Kim doesn't read the fine print.
Because you may need to get out of your Zuffa contracts in a few months.
I told you to read the fine print, Dave Kim.
There might not be any money left.
Where did that money go?
And speaking of Zuffa, man, they're trying to get their scumbag amendments to the Muhammad Ali Act passed through the Senate.
You believe this shit?
But you know what? I'm actually going to Washington, D.C. next week to testify in person against it and explain again why this act does not need to be changed. It's been in place for 26 years and has protected fighters. TKO needs it to change so they can fighters.
We renegotiate and pay you less?
Just like they do in the UFC. And I'm going to give it my best shot to preserve boxing history and protect the fighters.
If anyone can do it, it's him.
And one thing is for sure, my clapback after I return from Washington is going to be a forest fire. I'll be exposing all the lies TKO tells our government. So Uncle Fester, please invest in a suit. The Senate doesn't want to see you in your little Oshkosh Bagosh t-shirt. So remember kids, you're never a hater if you only speak the facts.
So here's the facts. Muhammad Ali Act intact, as it is, with no amendments and no changes. Fighters still get screwed. Fighters have still been getting screwed. How do you think the likes of a Floyd Mayweather could be robbed of, in excess, $300 million by his former advisor? Where was the Muhammad Ali Act's protections for Floyd? And I can go on because it's a long, long list of fighters that, in spite of the Muhammad Ali Act that has been around for 26 years and counting, still got screwed by the people handling their careers. Sometimes they're managers, sometimes they're promoters. They still got jerked because it's not the Shield. It's not the force field that all of a sudden the boxing people are making it out to be. So if it's really not about that for them, what is it about? Oscar De La Hoya warns that the Saudis may pull their investment in a matter of months and all the Zuffa fighters signed to them will be screwed. As a result, not factoring in that Zuffa isn't just backed by Sella and Turkey LL Sheik. It's also backed by the WWE, it's also backed by the UFC, and it's also backed by Paramount Plus. I'm not completely sure, but from the looks of it, yes, Sella's providing them with money, but I think for the day-to-day operations and the smaller shows, with the smaller names, the money to make that happen, I don't think that's coming from Turkey LL Sheik. They wouldn't need it to. I think the money for that is coming from Paramount, your run-of-the-mill Zuffa card. And your run-of-the-mill Zuffa card, unlike a lot of what you see outside of that bubble, has a better fix on operational costs. They're not paying through the nose for Sergey Boachuk or Shane Mosley Jr., Radovanje Kalajdzic. These are not expensive fighters. On average, they're not, which is why Zuffa can afford to pay them a little bit more than the other promoters do. Keep them active on a regular basis, keep them fighting and making money without busting the budget. Oscar's ominous warnings about Sella withdrawing their investment in Zuffa boxing, it seems like a bit much. Grow up and get real. This ain't about Oscar looking out for the fighters and what's best for them. This is about the boxing people reserving the right to be the ones that screw them over. This is not about fear of a monopoly forming. There already is one. This is about preserving a monopoly. The one you guys have had on the sport for how long now?
I don't know how much trouble I'm gonna get into by saying this, but all those names and people that you're bringing up and that are defending that and that want to continue with that and none of them really follow it, man. Let's be real. I've been boxing with 30 plus fighters, and I see how it is. I know how it is. I know there's so many times where they're supposed to open books and give you the right numbers and everything, and most of the time they don't. You have to have a good relationship with the promoter to be able to work fair with them and be honest to each other, to be able to get close to the right numbers. So you don't really see that. They could fight for it and try to argue about it, that the boxing world needs it and that the fighters need to know. Yes, I agree, they need to know, but how many times have we seen cases where there's so much more money involved and the promoters just don't share it or don't show it to the fighters, the managers? They hide it. So they're kind of contradicting themselves. It's a threat to them if somebody else comes in, Dana White pushing for this to go, to go away, because they're not worried about the Muhammad Ali. They're worried about Dana White. They're worried about the promotion coming in and bringing a lot of fighters to their promotion, where they're going to lose those percentages. They're going to lose that money that comes in from TV for those big names. That's what they're going to lose. They're not really worried about the Muhammad Ali Act, because I've experienced things that, man, it's crazy.
You can ignore whatever I have to say about it. You can undermine my thoughts on the matter. I'm just a content creator. But what are you going to do? You're going to tell Robert that he doesn't know what he's talking about. You're going to tell me that. He used to be a fighter, a world champion, then a trainer for many, many years, and he's dabbling in management. I don't know that Robert Garcia actually watches the relay, but I don't know that he has to, for him to be saying the same thing that I'm saying. This is not about preserving the Ali Act, and this is not about protecting fighters. This is about reserving the right to be the one that screws them over. This is about fear of healthy competition, because Zuffa is your competitor. They may not end up monopolizing the sport of boxing. I don't know that that was ever their aim, but they may not end up being a monopoly. They don't have to be to give you a run for your money, to make your job harder. So you have to lie about what they're doing and give all these ominous warnings to the fighters about what might happen if you go to Zuffa. Near as I can tell, Zuffa's paying those guys well, which is why they're signing on. That's why they're going over there. Is there a manager in the sport of boxing more money hungry than Keith Connolly? Do you think he would have funneled so many of his fighters over there if they weren't being paid well? And do you think that Robert Garcia would have done the exact same thing? Robert arrived at the same conclusion I did. He's saying the same thing I've been saying. This is not about preserving the Ali Act, and this is not about protecting fighters. This is about having a go at Dana White. This is about having a go at Zuffa, the new kid on the block. A well-funded organization, well enough that they could give you a run for your money and poach all the fighters you want to take advantage of. The people against the Revival Act are a mixture of those who don't know any better. They don't actually follow it. And those hypocrites in the industry that do, and they know what this really means. It's going to make things harder for you and your racket. Your monopoly, now that they're here, and changes, real change, is happening that would limit the sanctioning bodies from mass-producing trinket titles, give the fighters an alternative to the existing framework, because up until now they didn't have one. They had to deal with the alphabets, and only a handful of promotional outfits that have TV deals. The fighters didn't have much of a choice, and that's what you're against. The fighters having a choice. Because they may not choose you. Rayo Valenzuela, after spending a long while at the PBC, becomes a free agent, and he doesn't go to a Top Rank or a Matchroom, not sure that they would have him. He didn't go to a Golden Boy. He went to Zuffa. Chris Billum Smith, who's fought on the Matchroom side of things and the boxer side of things, recently became a free agent. And where did he go? He went to Zuffa. Hard-punching Canadian cruiserweight Ryan Rozicki. He just signed a multi-fight deal with Zuffa Boxing, saying he's ready to make a statement. Hard-punching cruiserweight Ryan Rozicki has signed a multi-fight deal with Zuffa Boxing. Rozicki, from Canada and known as the Bruiser, is the latest addition to the new promotional powerhouse's loaded cruiserweight stable that includes champion Jai Opataya, former champion Chris Billum Smith, and now top contender Brendan Glenton. Rozicki is a knockout artist. The world-level operator has 21 professional wins, with all but one of them coming inside the distance. His lone defeat came in 2021 via a decision to longtime heavyweight contender Oscar Rivas, who in turn has only lost to Dillian White. Rozicki is unbeaten in 9 fights since the Rivas setback, often fighting in front of sold-out crowds in Nova Scotia. He has boxed for a WBC interim title when Yamil Peralta held him to a draw in their 2024 rematch. Rozicki scored a good win the year before too, when he halted Olenranhu Durudola, who had lasted 5 rounds with Richard Riakporhe, a huge puncher, and 7 with Lunga Makabu in what was their world title fight. The Canadian last fought in March, when he scored a second-round knockout over Gerardo Mulatto. I'm excited for this next chapter and the opportunity to be part of what Zuffa is building, Rozicki said. My team has done an incredible job of getting me to this point and making sure everything is in place for me to succeed at the highest level. This is a big platform, and I'm ready to get to work and make a statement. Zuffa is the promotion, and Paramount Plus is the platform to do it. Ryan Rozicki is in the right place, which in turn is a better place than he has been for some years now. And this is what I meant when I said that Zuffa may not be for everybody. It may not be for the Devin Haney or the Shakur Stevenson. It might not be a good fit for them. But for other fighters like Ryan, it might be just what the doctor ordered. That guy doesn't normally fight on big platforms like ESPN Plus or DAZN. Sky, I've long maintained that given his style, his aggressive punching style, he's made for television, but the bigger promotional outfits have not made an investment in him. So what's so wrong if Zuffa does? What if Zuffa puts some hustle behind this muscle? That's supposed to be a bad thing? Imagine Ryan Rozicki versus Brendan Glanton. That's a fucking shootout. That's a barn burner. Imagine that if through Zuffa, he can corner a Chris Billum-Smith fight.
That's another one.
Imagine a scenario where he beats Brendan Glanton, gets a career best win over a former champion in Chris Billum-Smith, which allows him to segue to a Jai Opataya fight. These are all fan-friendly fights that would not cost me and you an arm and a leg to watch. So what's so wrong in Zuffa Boxing carving out a lane for themselves and doing their own thing and signing the likes of a Ryan Rozicki while they do it? It's not like any of you other guys were using him. What do you care? How many times did you watch this guy get screwed over by the WBC while they dangled the WBC title in front of him, what was supposed to be his title shot? Now, going over there to Zuffa to some degree might impede his ability to fight for alphabet titles. But guess what? He didn't get the chance to box for any of them anyway. You can't lose something that you didn't have. All this hullabaloo about Zuffa's framework and how it's similar to the UFC, that you may not get sponsorships or you may not have endorsements. You know that a lot of fighters don't. Most fighters. So how do you lose something that you never had? That for a lot of fighters that are out there that fall through the cracks and don't stand in the limelight, Zuffa might be the right fit for them. I think this is the right fit for Ryan. This is welcome news. I was very happy to hear that a major promotional outfit finally decided to pick him up, because everything I've seen from this guy, he's made for TV. Able to go the distance with Oscar Rivas many years ago and hold his own and then some. Not a guy who's easily discouraged, and he packs a big punch. I look forward to seeing his fights on Paramount. And as I've been saying, Zuffa Boxing may not end up monopolizing the entire sport. I never thought they would, but that doesn't mean they can't achieve some modicum of success and entertain a lot of people while they do it. Doesn't have to be a bad thing.